Here's 5 lessons that would have saved me 10 years in my music career. I am 33 years old. I've been playing music professionally basically since I was a teenager. And recently I joined the band Sneezy, and we're playing all over the country. We just did a tour opening for Pigeons Playing Ping Pong, where we played for over 1,000 people every night. We're about to drive down to Florida to play the Resonate Festival in Sewanee, play for several thousand people. We did the Jam Cruise, playing for thousands of people on a boat in the Gulf. And we have a summer full of touring gigs on the up and up and up. And I wanted to share 5 things I've learned since being in this band that have totally changed the way I look at building a music career and what I would do differently if I could go back in time. Let's go. Number 1 is knowing that the national circuit and the local circuit are not connected. So what do I mean by this? Well, I spent most of my 20s living in Columbus, Ohio, and I climbed the local musician circuit very quickly. I went from being a kid just out of college who didn't know anybody in the scene to gigging upwards of 5 nights a week, sometimes up to 8 to 10 gigs in a week locally in Columbus. And I became sort of a big name guy in Columbus. At the end of my 20s, I moved to Chicago, and I basically did the same thing. Came to Chicago, didn't know anybody, and quickly went from somebody with no gigs to somebody who had a gig every night, sometimes 2 to 3 gigs a day. And I always thought that climbing this local ladder would eventually lead to bigger opportunities, to national opportunities, to touring opportunities, to getting to meet my idols. But the truth is that these local ladders, once you get to the top, there's not really a connection to the national ladder. And what I mean by the national ladder is playing festivals, playing on cruises, playing big shows with major names, with bands that have huge followings. And since joining Sneezy, what I've learned is that the local ladder, if you're good at music, is actually pretty quick to climb. It's pretty quick to go from making $0 playing music to making hundreds or even thousands of dollars a week performing music. But it's not connected to the national ladder. The national ladder, however, is very tough to get into, very slow to climb, and it takes a long time to make money on it. But the potential to make money is way higher than just maybe $1,000 a week. I think you can think of, Taylor Swift as the top of the national. I mean, she's made it to the international ladder. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'll make a video when I do. But if you want to be a nationally recognized musician, you won't find it through playing local gigs. Local gigs only lead to more local gigs, and local exposure only leads to more local exposure. And that's a lesson I did not understand until I joined a band that was already touring, already starting to make their footing on that national circuit. One thing I want to add here is that it's really interesting when you start playing on festivals and traveling around the country. It's interesting how you start running into the same people again and again. Little brag here, in December, we went to Colorado, did a 2 or 3 week run out there. And one of the venues we played at, we hung at the after party, and the drummer for Lettuce, Adam Deitch, showed up. And we got to hang out with him and jam with him and connect with him. Fast forward 2 months later, we played on Jam Cruise. Lettuce was on Jam Cruise. Adam Deitch was on Jam Cruise. We got to play and hang with him. 1 week later, we played a show in Atlanta where Adam Deitch's group, his duo, Breakbeat, can't remember what it's called right now, they played. And then we went to an after party that he was at. Got to play and hang with him. And in my 15 plus years of playing music as a local musician, I didn't hang with him even one time. And if I got to hang and play with somebody who was at least mildly famous, it was like a one-off thing. It was rare, and it didn't lead to anything else. But I've realized we keep ending up on the same festivals as Lettuce. We keep running into him. I keep running into these other musicians who have national followings, who have fans, who have built a career out of playing the music they want to play, not playing background jazz or church or weddings or local kind of stuff. So that's lesson 1. The national ladder is different than the local ladder. And if you want to be on the national ladder, you have to learn how to get off the local ladder. Lesson number 2. Getting out there and touring, just like this national ladder thing, is far more important than having a good social media presence. Social media is a tool that's like useful and not useful. Obviously, everybody has complicated relationships with it, but for many years, I had this belief that I'll play local gigs, I'll make my money through gigging, and when I'm not gigging, I'll gig Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe during the week too if the money's right, and then on my weekdays, I will hit social media hard. I'll make a bunch of videos, I'll try to go viral. And here's the thing, I almost never went viral. The few times I did, it didn't really build a fan base. Last year, I had a couple Instagram videos get over 100,000 views. I think one got 180, another got like 110, and then 4 or 5 got like 60, 70, 80K views. And it didn't really help me build a fan base. It didn't help my original music project at the time book any gigs. It didn't really do anything except like feel good to see a high number on social media. And what I've learned from joining Sneezy is that going somewhere and playing for people in person and talking to them after the gig and shaking their hands and hugging them and like selling them a hat or a t-shirt does way more for your brand as a band and as an artist than any social content possibly could. And I've just heard so many stories from before I joined the band where there's people I met where it's like, oh yeah, she's a huge fan of us. She lets us, and we get to stay at someone's house. And it's because the band was willing to drive halfway across the country and play for no money. And the 6 people that were there, 2 of them went, I love this band. I need to tell everyone I know about it. And on these tours we've been on past few weeks, I keep running into people where it's like, wow, I saw you guys when you were here 6 months ago and it was so good. I brought 5 friends. And then those 5 friends are like, you guys are amazing. We'll bring 5 more friends when you come back. And as much as like I learned about how to make shareable, viral internet content, and as I had some success in there, it didn't really freaking matter. What matters is betting on yourself, getting in a car, getting in a van, driving somewhere, and doing your thing for new people. Because the thing is, if you go play somewhere, even if there's 10 people in the room, if one of them goes, wow, that was amazing, that's the best concert I've ever seen, that's all that matters to plant that seed to say, okay, we're coming back. Because that person's going to be there and they're going to sure as hell bring a couple friends. And that's how it snowballs out. And then that's how you actually start to build a following. In person is far more effective than online. And venturing out to a new place to play has something kind of special to it. When you show up somewhere and people go, where are you guys from? We're like, oh, we're from Chicago. And they're like, whoa, you drove all the way to Asheville, you drove all the way to Colorado, you drove all the way to New Jersey, wherever it is. People are like, that hits them in a different way than just like, oh, here's this video of this band. I don't know where they're from. I don't even know their name. Okay, the third lesson I've learned is to not be in too many projects and not be too available. And in fact, I would even argue that the way to bring something to a national stage, to make something successful, is to say no aggressively. When I lived in Columbus, and even when I moved to Chicago for the last 4 or 5 years, I was making all my money playing music. I was saying yes to a lot of stuff. Saying yes to weddings that were paying good money, $400, $500, $600 a night. Saying yes to church, saying yes to jazz gigs, saying yes to like different original music projects. And it was like, seemed like it was fun. And it was like, yeah, I have all my eggs in all these different baskets. But what ended up happening was none of those projects really moved forward. And I didn't create the time for me to really focus on the one thing that really mattered, which at the time was the original music I was writing. And I thought if I could just make my money, all my money on music, that was like the key to success. But looking back, it's like, man, I wish I would have said no to more things and figured out how to invest more into the things I wanted to do. Now that I'm in Sneezy, I'm in a band where every single band member, this is the only project we're a part of. This is the only musical thing we do. So we're all in and everybody works on it together. Kind of the 3A, the addendum of the bonus part of this lesson is don't try and do it all yourself. Because before it was like, oh, I'll play all these gigs and then I'll book my own thing and I'll do the promo, I'll do the invites, I'll book it, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I ended up just like running into a wall. By being part of one project where also all 7 other members are just part of this project, we're able to all move in the same direction. Think about if you're like pushing a car down the road. Like if your car runs out of gas, you got to push it down the highway. If it's just you pushing it, that sucks. Imagine there's 2 of you pushing it. Or look at it this way. Imagine like I'm in like 5 projects, so I'm trying to push 5 cars down the road all by myself. Or like maybe somebody else is pushing a car and I help them for a second, but then I go push this other car. Now there's 7 of us in this band. We all push the car together. And everybody is able to like lean into the things that they're good at. Our bass player is good at like setting up all the cameras and recording the board, and then he mixes the shows and puts together videos. Me and the guitar player help write the itineraries, help advance the shows, help kind of manage the tour. Our guy Jack, he plays guitar and sings. He's like so good at organizing and keeping the trailer organized. And he literally said 2025, Sneezy's going to be on wheels. And he wasn't kidding. He made sure to get all of our amps, all of our gear, all of our stage decorations, our merch on dollies or on wheels and bungeed up. And everybody in the band has different things that they're good at, and we're able to divvy up jobs and delegate so that we're all pushing this one thing in the same direction. You know, as I look back and I see how much pride I had when I was like, I make all my money from music. And in my early 20s, I was really proud of myself. And I was like, I'm not going to do another job because I want to make all my money from music. And what I didn't see was that what I actually sacrificed to do that was taking the music I really wanted to do. And it was always kind of on the back burner. And like I said in lesson 1, getting on the national stage, it takes a long time to make money on that. And I think going back in time, potentially what I would tell my younger self is it's like, hey, try to actually make a lot of money Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe like load up your schedule with teaching students and teach students like 6 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And don't say yes to those Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday gigs that pay money so that you can take your band out and drive to Cleveland or drive to Indiana or drive to Kentucky, drive wherever and play even if you're losing money. Don't try to be so prideful on making all your money from music. See if you can make money elsewhere or get funded elsewhere so that you can take the music that isn't making money yet and get it in front of eyeballs and create fans for it so you can start that snowball so it can start to make money. So number 4, this kind of goes with number 3, is like don't be in too many projects. Number 4 is if you have a creative project or you're part of a creative project, like continually make sure the people are all in. When I had my band Safety Squad before, I would book gigs and then I'd reach out to my band members about it, and everybody was doing the same thing I was doing. They were making all their money playing music. So it'd be like, oh, I can't, I have a wedding. It's like they took a $300 wedding over the Safety Squad gig that maybe paid $50 or $100. It's like, oh, I can't, this other band I'm a part of has a gig. Find people who are willing to be all in on your project and be willing to do the hard work of saying no to people who aren't, even if they're friends, even if they're good musicians. Sneezy is on the up and up and is really starting to get success because we have people who are never going to miss a show. And I'm in that boat too. I will never miss a Sneezy show. Our bass player never will. Our singers never will. You know, we're like ready to play no matter what. And sometimes the best musicians in a city actually get stuck in the local ladder because everybody wants to play with them on their local gigs. So they get called for all these local gigs. And I was in that boat. It was like, oh, I was known as one of the strongest piano players in Chicago. So everybody's calling me to play. And it's like, wow, my phone's ringing off the hook. I'll do this. But then at the end of the day, I'm not really like doing what I wanted to do, which was be a freaking touring rock star. And now that I've said no to a lot of those people and no to a lot of those opportunities, I'm doing what I really want to do. So if you have a creative project, if somebody is like not able to be all in on it, if they aren't able to do the gigs or don't want to rehearse or, you know, don't want to do jobs outside the band, like love your project and love yourself enough to cut them out and find somebody who's willing to do the whole thing. Even if they're not as good as a musician, if they're hungry for it, if they say, I believe in your vision, I believe in your project, and I want to be a part of it, say yes to that. And then the final step, I kind of talked about this earlier, is that getting a project to that national stage, getting a project moving where it's like on the up and up, requires a huge investment. Watch any interview from somebody who's made it, and they'll tell you how much money, how much debt they went into, how much money they invested. You know, Michael League said he maxed out over 100K on credit cards before Snarky Puppy started to make money. And everybody felt like Snarky Puppy was an overnight success, but he was going into debt and grinding and working on this above all else for 10 years before they started to take off. Andy Frasco says basically the same thing. He went over 100 grand in debt to make it happen. So it requires a huge investment. So part of this lesson is, one, be willing to like go into debt, take a bet on yourself, be willing to like spend a lot of money before you even see a return. And two, like I said before, try to make your money. If you have means of making money, make it early in the week. See if you can find a job where you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Teaching music lessons is a great thing to do because you could make upwards of 50 plus an hour teaching, evenings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it can be really steady. Some of the guys in my band have jobs where they can work remote. They can work from the van sometimes. Their bosses understand that they're in this band and they are very flexible with them. And understand that like it's going to take driving 10 hours to play for $200 just to get your foot in the door in a market, just to like build the story, just to show the fan base, show potential fans how serious you are. Those are 5 lessons I've learned that I've changed my tune on that I really had dead wrong even just a year ago. And as I've learned these lessons, and I just wanted to share them because Sneezy's blowing up right now and it's really exciting to be a part of it. And if you're an aspiring musician or if you're stuck in the local scene and you're wondering how to get out of it, these are 5 fundamental shifts I've made, and I hope that they inspire you to change the way you're approaching your music too. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like and subscribe. If you want to level up your music skills, your piano playing, if you want to get closer with me, check out my Patreon. Have a great day.